Hello everyone, it's David again on Babylon 5 Season 3 Episode 7, Exogenesis. And in case you're wondering, one of my cats just crawled up next to me. Anyway, we start off, they are celebrating the promotion of Lieutenant David Corwin from Lieutenant JG to Lieutenant Full Grade. So, I remember my brother-in-law finally made lieutenant right before he retired from the U.S. Navy. So, it's nice little pay raise and did wonders for his retirement benefits, too. But, at any rate, we're talking about David Corwin here. And then we start off, and this creature is trying to merge with a lurker. Now, we learn later that the creature's called a Vendrizi. And sadly for this one, it doesn't work well because this particular lurker is on all kinds of drugs. And evidently, drugs are not good for the Vendrizi, just as drugs are not good for you or me. So, we cue on the entrance. And we start off with James Warwick as Matthew Duffin, Wiley Lee as Jackie Lee. Oh, there was a stretcher for you. And Aubrey Morris, who plays Duncan, that affable little old man who kind of, it's got a little bit of a scratchy voice, but kind of like that old, that crazy old uncle that you always wanted, because he was so friendly and nice to everybody. Sadly, this lurker dies secondary to the Vendrizi and the drug use. We zip on in, and Sheridan and Ivanova want to know if Lieutenant Corwin can be trusted. So they try and set up a coffee date, if you will, between him and Ivanova. Ivanova, unfortunately, isn't so convinced by the end of this coffee date that Lieutenant Corwin can be trusted. So that means he's let out of the inner circle, at least for now. Now, is this a case of Lieutenant Corwin needing to kind of grow up a little bit? Because as we all know, he later turns out to be kind of, a rock in CNC that Ivanova and Sheridan can rely on. So, kind of makes me, is that, it's also about, when they got into the discussion about, do you obey an illegal order? And of course, being fresh out of the academy, he's still got his head full of, you always obey the chain of command. You always obey the chain of command. A lot of soul searching for military members just recently here in the United States about, if Donald Trump were to try and use the military to prevent Joseph Biden from taking command, would they in fact do that? And as we can see, and I've been around military people all my life. I've never served in the military. At the time, it was illegal for me to be in the military, being LGBTQ, and I didn't want to risk going to jail just because I love somebody who's the same gender as me. But at any rate, so a lot of the current military were like, no, we're not going to, basically we're just going to keep resigning, and then by the time he gets far enough down the list to find an officer who's willing to obey, it's going to be too late. Things will have passed. Biden will eventually take, the oath of office, and then we can all just go back to the way things were. So, at any rate, poor Lieutenant Corwin makes the wrong choice, at least in this instance, and chooses the chain of command as opposed to do you obey an illegal order. We zip on over, and Marcus gets over to Duncan and starts quoting Macbeth. And I think we also find out that Duncan's not the guy's real name. It's just he quotes Macbeth so often that Marcus just gave him the name Duncan from Macbeth. Duncan doesn't like to be poked by doctors. I've met so many people like that, and I can tell you, having been a nurse, that is absolutely, that's why married men live longer than single men, because eventually the wife nags on the husband and gets him to go see the doctor. And but anyway, poor Duncan doesn't like it, even though he's got a really nasty cough. And to me, it sounded like he had bronchitis. In actuality, either that or he's just a really good actor. At any rate, we zip on in, and Marcus is getting reports of shadow vessels in Sector 800 a few days ago. And so he has one of his contacts say that they're gathering and creating a border on the edge of Centauri space. So Marcus tells his contact to drop a sensor in Sector 800 and then get the heck out of Dodge to see if they can figure out what's going on. Dr. Franklin performs an autopsy on the lurker and finds a substance wrapped around his spinal column, and we all know that that is left by the Vendrizi. One of the important memes, or funny memes, Marcus is talking to Dr. Franklin after they get put in a cell for, when they find out Junkin's got one of these Vendrizis wrapped around him, and they get put into a cell together, and Marcus says to Dr. Franklin, where I come from is a far more interesting place, talking about, math. 3 minus 2 is 1, and, they were going back and forth about that. We zip on in, and David Corwin comes in for his coffee date with Ivanova, and he's got roses, and she says, oh, I've always had a weakness for roses. So we learn Ivanova likes roses. Personally, myself, I'm a carnations kind of guy. We zip on in, and we find out that the Vendrizi were created 500,000 years ago to be a record, kind of like the Trill of Star Trek, if you think about it. Though it seems the Vendrizi live a lot longer than the Trill symbionts. And here's what I don't understand. If these Vendrizi are here 500,000 years ago, and 1,000 years ago was the Valen Shadow War, why don't these Vendrizi just say, hey guys, there's this group of people called the Shadows that are going to come for you, and we just want to let you know that you can block them with telepathic interference. If you get a little, a telepath out there, they can block them, and then you can blow them apart with your guns. But of course, they don't just say that. That would just be too darned easy. But like I always say, it is science fiction, not science fact. At any rate, I'm recording this in December, and I hope you all have a good holiday season. And I'm still waiting to get more information on the Babylon 5 series that's coming up, hopefully pretty soon. But from what it sounds like, JMS won't have any more information probably until early to mid-January. So, if I find anything out in the meantime, I will let you know. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hope you all have a good rest of your day.